Hey Graphics fans, Nicole Watson here, and I am back creating in my mixed media journal, which should be probably my last spread. I have a few more little embellishments that I want to add to it, but if you've been following my journey, as you just saw in this journal, I kind of by happenstance turned this into a seasonal journal. So I have a fall, winter, spring, and summer planned, and in the beginning this was completely unplanned. So now I feel like I need to add some more color to my spring and summer pages so that they look a little bit more springy and summery. And one way I'm going to do this is by creating a layered flower or floral spread on this left side. And I'm beginning by adding some more ledger sheet to this matte page in the journal. It's the back side of the spring spread. There's the spring on the front. And I had some like uneven coverage in the back, and I wanted to just cover it up with that ledger paper so I could start fresh. I grabbed a bunch of springy floral colors, my foam applicator, and then a whole bunch of stencils that are from StencilGirl. After flipping through all those stencils and kind of getting a game plan, I am going to begin my first layer of florals here on that ledger sheet that is stuck down to that matte journal page with matte medium. And I'm just using this foam applicator, some green paint, and I just popped a photo on the screen there of wildflowers in Texas, and this is my idea. I love driving through the countryside, the sides of the roads in Texas, where I live in the summers, specifically like the later spring, early summer, because the wildflowers are just completely layered. And so that's kind of my like inspiration for this page. I'm wanting to layer 3 kind of layers of flowers here, and I'm doing that using the Grafix products. And so my first layer is going to be actually on the page on the ledger sheet here, and then you'll see what I do for my next 2 layers in just a minute. After using that foam applicator, I found like it wasn't working as well. No fault to anything other than the fact that I wanted to make sure I had the green separate from the little flowers because I want the flowers to be a color. And so after that applicator, I picked up my paintbrush and used that too. And now I'm just going to clean up a bunch of those stems, make them look a little bit better. I want this to be like have extra green around it to add to that layering. So I'm kind of adding some watered down green around those stems. And then once that dries, I can put that stencil back on top and add the color to the flower parts. Now I'm using my paintbrush to just really quickly, easily, messily add some orange. I mixed the orange with a little bit of that mustardy yellow color there to kind of get the color I wanted, really quickly putting it into the flowers. And then I'm going to pick up the stencil and add and layer some more color to them. Kind of make them my own, add a little bit more definition, and make them look a little bit more wild. My first step is to add a little bit of that pure like mustardy color there. I forget what it's called, the actual official name of it, on the bottom of those flowers. And then I'm going to come back with some yellow and add some of that on top of those as well. I don't have a specific like flower in mind here. I'm not wanting them to look perfect. When you're driving down the road and you just see like the masses of flowers, you just see spots of colors. So that's what I'm trying to create here. I also splattered some extra color in the background again to continue on that kind of layering of the flowers in the distance and just the whole colors that you see in the layers of flowers along the roadside. I'm loving just that little extra touch of interest that yellow is adding to those flowers. I again splattered some of that on, and then I'm going to let it dry completely before I begin my next layer. The next layer, I'm going to add flowers on top of this matte film. It's the matte Duralar film. I need to cut it to fit my page, and so that's going to be my next step. I just used a simple trimmer, which you're going to see me use several other times throughout the video, and cut that film. But as I was looking back at my page and I layered that film on top of it, I thought I needed a few more flowers in the background. So I grabbed another one of these stencils, just using a different green with my paintbrush in the stem. I'm going to clean it up, allow it to dry, and then add the paint to the flowers just like I did on that first layer. Because these flowers are going to have another layer of that matte film on top of them, and then another layer, which I'm not going to tell you what it is yet, I don't need them to be perfect. They're going to be kind of muted, masked isn't the right word, but they're going to be like pushed into the background. So these don't need to have the perfect look to them. They don't need to have the perfect shape to them. I just need them to look like flowers, have some wonderful color for my layers. Finishing up a couple little final spots on these flowers. I'm going to add a little center to that one on top, add a couple fun flowers on the bottom on those two little stems. I completely forgot about that stem to the right, and I kind of decided that I did forget about it, but I kind of decided, I don't want another flower there. So I just left it as is. When I put the matte film on top, it looked perfect for that first layer, and now I'm going to add flowers to the matte layer film. Same exact process here. I'm using that foam applicator through the stencil on top of the matte film, did the color first, did the green, and now I'm going to extend some of that green up through the flower and kind of like add some additional color in the flower. I'm wanting these to look kind of like salvia or kind of hint at blue bonnets or bluebells maybe. Some of that purpley blues that we have on the roadside. Again, I am not matching these flowers to be exactly what I see. I just want layers of flowers. Because you are really going to see a lot more of this layer, I am making it a little bit more crisp, a little bit more pristine. I'm not going to make it so crazy. I added a little bit of dark purple to kind of add some difference in color here. A few times throughout the process, I'll layer on top of my first layer just to see how it's looking, what else I want to add, if I want to add any more color. I am going to add some more watery green around these stems just to add to that layering, to add to the grass that you see around wildflowers, to add just some more color to it to make it look a little bit more layered. Now this matte film is taking the acrylic paint and the watered down acrylic paint perfectly. You don't have to do any kind of fixing, any kind of special treatment to it. It's the perfect substrate for acrylic paint. And I'm continuing the same process here, mirroring exactly what I did with that purple flower on the left with another type of flower here on the right. You saw that I just got a little bit too much of that green puddle, grabbed a baby white and picked it up before it dried. While I'm repeating this process a couple more times, let me tell you a little bit about the journal I'm working in. This is the Grafix Mixed Media Journal. It has several types of papers on the inside, or films as what they're called by Grafix. There's two different clears, there's white, and there's this matte version that I'm using right now, which isn't a page in the journal, but it's the same material that's in the journal. It's a great journal to play with a lot of different of the surfaces to get to know the Grafix products. This one is 5x7. There's also a square version of it. I think it's 5x7. It's around 5x7. If I said that wrong, I apologize. But there's also a square version as well. I have completed several other spreads in this journal, and those are on the Grafix channel. I have that spring and the summer, the fall and the winter, and then also a floral spread that's kind of more like seasonal change kind of spread. And so if you want to see and learn more about this journal, hop over to the Grafix playlist and look for my videos to see the other spreads that I've created in this journal. With that, I have this second layer of my flowers done, and now I need to adhere it to my first layer. So I grabbed some of this Grafix double tack. Basically, it's a full sheet of adhesive. So I grabbed out my trimmer, same one I used to trim down that page, to trim down some of the adhesive, and I just want to put a strip of it on top of that matte film. This will allow me the option to lift up and down that film to see the flowers in the back and kind of to give a little bit more movement to the page so it's not completely adhered down to the first layer. This double tack mounting film is super easy to use. It's double-sided. It kind of works similar to like a double-sided tape. You put it down on what you're going to use, burnish it down to make sure it sticks, peel back the, what do you call it? It's not the adhesive, the non-adhesive layer. Burnish that down, whatever you're putting down in it, and it just sticks perfectly, and it did exactly what I needed there. Allowed me to flip my second layer from my first layer, and now I'm just popping this page into the journal. One thing I love about this journal is the ability to add and remove pages so easily. When I popped it in there, I realized that I kind of didn't size my second layer here perfectly, and I was trying to figure out, like, do I put it down on my trimmer? Do I just use some scissors? And since I'm only cutting a teeny little bit off of it, I just trimmed it up with my scissors and popped it back in the journal, easy peasy. Alright, now it's time to work on the third and final layer to this flower page, and this layer is going to be one that works for the left side and the right side. This page on the right with the little girl and the wonky leaf, which is one of my stencils from StencilGirl, is the first page that I created in this journal before I even knew that I was going to make this a journal that's like about the 4 seasons. And so this is this official summer spread in my journal, but it looks summery, but it doesn't have enough summer color for me. It doesn't have enough, like, it doesn't scream, this is summer. And so I'm wanting to add a few more little flower elements, a little pop of color to make it look a little florally. So I'm going to do that by simply stamping on a page of the wet media Duralar. This is actually one of the pages in the journal. I'm going to use these Tim Holtz stamps and some of the floral look and a little one that looks like they're like little rainbowy clouds. But I didn't want to stamp over the photo of the girl. Now I'm not stamping on the photo, but I didn't want the stamping on the film to go over the girl. So I'm using some of the Frisket film, which is another really cool product from Grafix. This is going to show me where the little girl is behind the film so I don't stamp the flower like completely over her face. And so I'm just going to spend some time here additioning these stamps, deciding where I want to put them because they're going to be on the right, but when I turn the page, they're also going to be on the left. So I want them to look good on both sides, the left and the right. One thing I was playing with, which I didn't actually need to do, was that I couldn't stamp on the front of this wet media Duralar, and I could stamp on the back, as you see, because I flipped the stamps over if I wanted the stamp to go another way. Now, I didn't need that to happen, but I think that's something that's really, really cool about this see-through material is that you could stamp on either side if you wanted the stamp to go a different way on the page. So in order to accomplish this, I'm using an ink called StazOn. It's a permanent ink that works really well on slick surfaces, any kind of surface that like a normal ink isn't going to work on. Generally, StazOn is pretty permanent on it. I haven't had any issues. It's great for watercoloring, great for adding any kind of like other wet media with it, especially on surfaces that are different than paper, like this wet media Duralar fabric material film. That's what it's called. I stuck a little piece of paper underneath my film to kind of give me an eye of where those little, they're not holes, the little marks are, or the cutouts are for the pages, because I didn't want to stamp over them and lose my stamp. One thing to keep in mind is this wet media Duralar is kind of slick in nature, and so when you put a wet thing on top of it, like the wetness of the ink, it can slide a little bit. So it's important that you just really gently put the stamp down, give it a little bit of pressure, and pull it straight up, because it can easily slide on anything that has a little slick surface. And so as I stamp, I'm going back and forth here, looking at it on the page before I add more to it, because this is my only wet media page left in this journal, and I didn't want to mess it up. Now I can cut another page and add it to my journal, which I'm going to do in a minute. You're going to see how I do that, but I didn't want to have to do that twice. So I'm being really careful here, being really intentional about the stamps that I put down. In all honesty, this one that I put down here, I got a little bit more over to the right than I wanted, but that led to a really cool thing, because I added another stamp that I wasn't planning. Isn't this effect the coolest? I have so many ideas swimming around in my head of how I'm going to cut up pieces of this wet media Duralar and layer it on top of my photos, layer on top of other things. It adds the coolest extra layer on top of something without having to like worry about it, or without having it to like interfere in whatever you're stamping on. If you've listened this far and you're still watching, and I hope you are, I'm going to share a tiny little secret with you. It wasn't until this moment right here, when I was stamping on this wet media Duralar, putting it back in my journal and flipping the page back and forth, that I absolutely fell in love with this film. I finished that thought, you just saw on screen that I wiped off a little bit of the stamping that stamped in a place that I didn't want it. This StazOn, it does not dry permanently right away. It's still a little bit wet, so I was able to really quickly, with a little wet corner of my baby wipe off that ink that I didn't want there. And then now I just removed that frisket, and it is absolutely perfect. I mentioned a little bit ago that this summer page needed some more summer on it, and one thing that I just felt like it needed was some pink. I don't know, I think the page is like lending itself to pink. Pink feels like a summer color, but there wasn't a whole lot of space on this page to add something super pink to it. So I thought I would just do a little bit of easy stitching on the bottom just to add a hint of pink. Now I have some left over of that frisket on my desk, and I used that as a guide on the page of where I wanted to stitch. It was the perfect solution to figure out how to stitch straight and exactly where I wanted the stitching to fall on the page. This wet media Duralar is pretty thin, so it was really easy to stitch on it. One thing you have to remember is that you're going to see what you stitch front and back. There's no hiding it, so you can't do a lot of fancy stitches, but a simple zigzag like this worked out perfectly. Anyway, back to my secret. I was not loving this wet media Duralar. I was on the struggle bus with it. I think as an artist, or anyone in general, it's so easy to go to the things that you're so used to, the things that are comfortable or easy. You know, if you're one of those people that orders the same meal every time you go to a restaurant, it's really hard to try something new. But I got there, I figured it out, and I fell in love. And you're going to see in just a minute another way that I use this wet Duralar that is amazing. Anyway, I thought that I needed to add just a little place for you to pick this wet media Duralar up with, instead of using your fingers and adding a lot of fingerprints to it. So I used again some of that double tack mounting film to just add this little ticket to the side of my page to work as a cute little page turner. I love that it adds another little pop of pink to the page. Now it's time for one more magical moment with this wet media Duralar. This is my spring spread, that's hard to say, behind me here, and it doesn't look very springy. Now it is, if you're familiar with my art, very, very much in line with my style, but it's missing, like, when I think of spring, I think of little leaves on the trees and the grass greening up. So I needed to add that to this page, but I didn't want to change the page because I love the page. So enter adding a layer of wet media Duralar on top of it to add some color. I simply grabbed a little punch to punch those little nodules, whatever they're called. I can't think of it. On the side, my little tool that I have isn't perfect with the spacing of the graphics journal, so I kind of had to like mark it up a little bit. I used a little cleaning paste to clean off the Sharpie that I had on it. Very simple. This is my little test sheet that I'm showing you here, how I kind of tested the medium. And I'm using the Bombay India ink here, mainly that grass green. I'm putting a tiny bit of the sepia in it to tone it down a little bit, and then I'm going to add some yellow in just a minute as well. This is a super simple process. If you're familiar with watercoloring, I kind of use some of my knowledge of watercolor with this, but I'm just really adding green little stipples or blobs to these trees. I love how I can see the trees behind, so there's no guessing, and I just kind of worked really simple, starting off really slow, adding a little bit, adding different variances in the green. I added the green pure, I added the green with a little bit more sepia, with a little bit less sepia, because when you look at a tree, it's not all the same green. I wanted that variance in the leaves. This page is already looking so much more like spring. Just a little warning though, it does take some time for the India ink to dry on the page, so be really careful if you're using it on the page. It dries quickly, but not right away. And now I wanted to add some little sprigs of green grass, which are also going to turn into daffodils, because the other thing that speaks spring to me are daffodils. I'm also adding some little bits of green to the trees that are on that photo there, the little bush, a little few sprigs of grass on the photo. And in a minute, I'm going to add my daffodils. Now I have out that yellow on the Bombay India ink. I'm just adding little tiny little plops of yellow down on just some of the little green sprigs to look like daffodils. Another really simple moment that's adding so much spring to this page. As I was working on it, I decided that this page needed a little flippy moment too, so that you didn't touch the page too much, get your fingerprints on it. So I'm going to just add another ticket to the page, again with that double tack. I'm having to be a little bit more careful here because I'm anxious to get this done and my page isn't completely dry, so I'm crossing my fingers that I don't mess it up. But that double tack made it super easy, just to quick put this little tab on the page and made it easy to turn, and now I'm going to let it dry before I mess with it any longer. Now that my pages are dry, I'm going to admire them just a little bit. All this wonderful spring and summer color and flowers that I added to these journal pages. Absolutely perfect. It's looking so much more like the 4 seasons. So I will have at least one more, maybe 2 more tutorials for this journal. I have to decorate the cover yet. There's one more page in the back and another clear page in the beginning that I haven't put anything on. So we'll see where those go. Make sure you stay tuned to see how I finish off this journal. It has been so much fun. I did not, again, plan to make this a 4-season journal, but let me encourage you to grab 4 photos that look like spring, summer, fall, winter, some of the things that are meaningful of those seasons to you, and create a little seasonal journal. It has been so much fun, and I might have to do it again. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope this encourages you to grab a graphics journal, experiment, have fun, and especially play with this wet media Duralar, because you're going to be seeing it in some more of my artwork. I just know it. Thanks again so much for watching.